Welcome to the program. My name is Vince Nigro. On Insights today, Tenio Evangelista, president of Harbourfront Centre. He talks about the past, what's happening today, and some of the future expansion opportunities. Tenio Evangelista, today on Insights. Tenio Evangelista, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vince.
You are president of Harbourfront Centre. We've known each other for a long time. I think probably over 30 years. I think it goes back. We're just talking about off camera some of these kind of characters that we've known from the past. I know you've been on Harbourfront since 2003? 2004.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
And I've been the chair for the last 13 years.
The last 13 years. Tell us a little bit how you got involved in Harbourfront and how that came about. I know that Harbourfront, and we'll get into the whole dynamics of Harbourfront and what's happening. How you got involved?
So my first involvement was when I was working for David Calmet, who I worked for at one point. So when David was the Minister of Transport, but he was also the political minister for Toronto, and Harbourfront Centre was one of those political files, and I worked closely. I worked closely with the former CEO of Harbourfront Centre, Bill Boyle.
Right.
And on the first official 5-year funding program for Harbourfront Centre from the federal government. It was a 5-year, $20 million commitment. And I got to know Bill. And then when I left government in 2003, and I joined my current role, Bill Boyle asked me to sit on the board. And then from spring of 2004, I've been on the board. And then became the chair in March of 2012. So it's been a long history, but that my first sort of introduction, well, I knew Harbourfront Centre from before, but first introduction kind of formally was through working with Bill Boyle.
With Bill Boyle.
It's been a long history since then.
The reason I wanted to give us a little bit of background, because a lot of people go on boards for 1 or 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and they really don't have a feel for the board they got on. But you're in a position where you have a really good feel and you've seen it change. Give us a little bit of a sense. Harbourfront, let me just go back. Harbourfront, coming from and being born in Toronto, when you hear this name Harbourfront, you always think of the waterfront, obviously. And everybody kind of knew it was a political kind of a file with the federal government, but they really didn't know what Harbourfront was, what had made it up. Give us a little sense of what really Harbourfront is.
Sure. And, you make a good point there, Vince, because part of my challenge, having been on board the chair over the years, is explaining to people what is Harbourfront? Right. You say Harbourfront Centre. Was that the waterfront?
Yeah.
Is that ports? What is it? And it's a bit of an enigma, Harbourfront Centre, because it's a 10-acre site, and it's not just one building. It's not just one gallery. It's not the AGO, and it always has it's always connected to the federal government because it was announced in the 1972 election.
Right.
It became a Crown Corporation in 1974, and then in 1990-91. It evolved into a charitable organization, which you are currently, with the federal government being our anchor funder. We get program funding from the province. The city is our landlord. They give us funding as well. But to your point, what is Harbourfront Centre? To me, we should take it back to the original mandate. It's a meeting place for the community, for the public, to have public access to the waterfront. And then we incubate arts and culture and family activities. I mean, we have a 10-acre site and it's a gathering place. And I think 10, 12 years ago, we lost sight of that. And we start to move more into, it's just a pure arts organization. And my view is always like, no, it is, we incubate arts and culture, but we're a meeting place for people.
Yeah.
Especially new Canadians.
Especially new Canadians, because, growing up, obviously, in Toronto, skating was always a thing that we would do in the winter, and Harbourfront was always that thing. Let's go skating at Harbourfront. Let's go skating at Harbourfront. So you're right about the meeting place. A lot of people would go down there, whether it was off school year, on school year, that kind of stuff there. So it really started as a meeting place.
Yeah, and it was a meeting place. 70% of our programming still today is free, because it was also part of the mandate, part of the expectation with the federal government funding is that we provide programs that are accessible for people, and most of it's free. Now, some might argue, is that a viable economic proposition? Yeah, we can debate that, but at the end of the day, that has been our raison d'etre for 50 years.
So at the end of the day, it's a chunk of land.
Yeah.
Which has all three governments, mainly with, like as you said, the feds having the anchor. But and I always use myself as an example. Like I have 4 kids, and one of my daughters was a teacher. When she was going through school, she taught some programs at Harbourfront, and she went down there. So there's a lot of that stuff that over the years you don't really anticipate that there's programs down there, but there are a lot of great programs. They're free. A lot of them are free. I mean, you got to get down there, sure, but a lot of people didn't realize that those programs existed down there.
And our summer camps are a huge success. Huge success. And you're right. A lot of people sometimes don't know what it has to offer. You know, you go down there and we try and educate people on what Harbourfront Centre is beyond access to the waterfront.
So let's start from the very base. So you said it's about a 10-acre plus site.
Yeah.
Give us the radius of what are we talking about?
So we're talking about, let's say, from the Queens Quay Terminal.
Okay.
From there all the way to the Amsterdam Brewery.
Okay.
So that's a big chunk, you know, and we have a lot of...
and you got the power plant in there.
Power plant is kind of like...
What's the power plant?
The power plant is a small art gallery, visual arts. It historically has been technically a sub of Harbourfront Centre, but it recently announced that it's going to be independent and is on its way to being independent.
I see.
You know, we have always been a backstop for Harbourfront Centre, for the power plant. They will be independent. They will still continue to be on the site, and we will offer them free rent and utilities in the building because it's our building. So that's what the power plant is, and it's sort of this niche, you know, has this niche appetite in the, you know, the visual arts community, and it's internationally renowned. But it's on its road to independence, as their current board has expressed a desire to, as we've expressed a desire that we think it to be more successful being independent, in collaboration with us, where we will support them with that in-kind support.
Do you still see the initial mandate as a meeting center that Harbourfront still to this day is the basis of a meeting center?
Yep.
And it has a lot of and it's really gone into the arts piece in terms of the arts and culture, arts and crafts and that kind of stuff there?
Yeah, I think what, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's still the core mandate is it's a meeting place for the community. And when I say community, not just the local community, the broader community of, you know, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, international visitors. I think we lost some sight of what the core mandate was, because we started getting into producing our own content, which is expensive, and there's not a big return on that. So what we're trying to do now is to say, we have a couple of festivals like, you know, Kumba, which celebrates Black Futures Month, right? And that we produce, very successful. It's in February. It's fantastic. But some of these other programs we were producing weren't cost beneficial. And I think what we've decided is that let's partner with those who put on the festivals. We'll be their site partner, but also contribute in a way that makes their festivals more successful. Because what we want to drive traffic down to the site.
Tenio, as you said, you've been there quite many years there, and you've seen it changing. Where it's today, and where do you see it going? Like, what is that you, aside from more visibility and people down there and programs evolving all the time, what do you see your next 5 years with Harbourfront? Or what's your wish list on Harbourfront?
Well, I mean, the wish list for Harbourfront Centre is that it gets to be as much as self-sustaining as possible. There will always be a level of government support, right? And there's been done a lot of great work in the last almost 18 months with a new CEO. She's been fantastic, turned it around from the financial perspective, from cleaning up the site, bringing in new partners, because the challenge that we've had over the years is bringing in sponsors. So now we've got, you know, Canadian Tire Jumpstart coming in. We've got, you know, Labatt is a great partner of ours. We're bringing in more of these corporate sponsors. And I think for my wish list is that in 5 years, you know, maybe we have a naming partner for the whole site, maybe and for certain buildings. And in 5 years that we've built up a reserve fund so that we can continue to provide the programming. Because, you know, and you know this, Vince, you know, arts and culture is always it's a tough game. You're always begging for money from governments. And so my goal is that we get to a point where governments are supporting us, but we can be on the path to self-sustainability and manage our money well and provide the programming. You mentioned the skating rink, hugely popular. We had to close it down a couple of years ago because the cost to replace it was huge. and we just couldn't afford it. And then we worked with the city, and they stepped up to fund it, and then we run it. So, and now with Canadian Tire coming on board, Jumpstart, they're going to expand. They're going to double the size of it. So it's going to be fantastic.
The venue also can be rented. Could it not be like you can go down there to pay for events?
Yeah,
get involved.
absolutely.
The venue is open.
It's open, and we have a lot of corporate festivals that come and say, we want the Ashkenaz Festival. They take over the whole site on a weekend in September every 2 years. And so people call all the time, whether they want to do corporate events, they want to rent spaces in the building. We have the Ontario Science Center in the building right now because of their closure. And we're hoping to expand that partnership. And it's great. Like they've got Kids Park that comes in, and it's a great spot. So that's a perfect example of, they're using our space, paying us rent. We have commercial operators like Amsterdam, and a beautiful new restaurant. I don't know if you've been down there, called Queen's Harbor.
No, I haven't been there.
Right on Queen's Quay where the old Pauseway was. That group put in, I think, $15 million to renovate that space. So it's a beautiful destination restaurant that we've never had before. So these are the things that give me confidence that we're moving in the right direction. Because the one thing that we're always cognizant of, if the site doesn't look appealing, we're not going to attract sponsors.
Yeah,
and that's the challenge.
And even though obviously the waterfront, when it gets cold, it's a little tougher to get folks down there. And the skating rink obviously is an attraction there. But a lot of the programs you have, I was checking out some of the programs. There's some beautiful programs, great programs that are obviously the population expanding now with the condos, but the programs that you give in the winter are unbelievable. There's some beautiful programs.
Well, again, credit to our new CO and her team. Because to your point, over the years, you go down to Harbourfront, it's dark in January. Well, we instituted Winterfest, tree lighting. We have the skating now, but also in our main square, we've got programming going on during the winter, and it just livens up the place, right? And again, what do people do in January? They want to go skating, but we also have a winter festival, a winter market, and it's been just a huge success for us. In the summer, we brought back fireworks, and it's just a great excitement. We've got movie nights and dancing in the park. There's great things. I mean, the summer music festival is always on, so there's always great programming going on the weekend.
The board that you have, obviously, it's an interesting board. It brings different dynamics and different experiences to the board. I know you run the board. You work closely with the board. In the past with these boards, there's always politics get involved. But it seems like you got a pretty good workable board.
No, we have a very good board. Different people with different backgrounds, even on the political sides, and there's always been a good harmony at the board level. I've got a great board, very supportive of me in my role, and we put together a great, really diverse backgrounds, but diverse experiences. And there's, politics never really gets involved. And, we used to have counselors we have one counselor on the board, Asma Malik, and she's a great champion of ours. She's a deputy mayor. So we're very fortunate to have her as the local counselor, but also as the deputy mayor. She's a fantastic advocate for us, and it's really made a difference. But the board works really well.
And obviously social media today, a lot of people get their news and their information with social media, whatever. I know you have a newsletter, and you go on your website. Give us a little background about your newsletter. How often does it come out? And
I think it comes out every month, and we put out one big offering in the spring that says our whole programming, and we're trying to we're really paying a bit of catch over the last couple of years with our social media presence. Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and just making sure that we get that visibility, right, and to inform people what's going on, because that's the biggest challenge for us, is letting people know that things are happening, because when we look at the waterfront, and we've both been involved with the waterfront, over the years, and but when we look at the waterfront redevelopment, you go from east to west, but what's the most appealable part? The center, the central waterfront, and that's us. And so this is what I've tried to impart to policy makers, to say, look, guys, it's important what you're doing on each end, but the middle is really important. So let's not forget about it, and we need to make sure that's viable. It's lively, and it offers people what they want, and it's working. It's getting a lot better.
When I was down on the waterfront, Harbourfront was always the crown jewel. It was the center ice. It's like you pay some of your center ice there, and I mean, it's amazing how over the years it's had its ups and downs, but you kind of brought it back to life.
Yeah.
Harbourfront is one of those areas that you said a lot of ethnics where they used to go to the island, they used to go to Ontario Place, the CNE. Harbourfront was there, but it's a little more popular now in terms of getting there because it's easier to get around.
Yeah.
Transit easier to get down there, obviously you would recommend transit to take down there because parking is very limited.
I mean, we have a parking lot there, but but transit is great with the when I go down there because I live near DuPont Station and get on the subway,
You're down there.
take the streetcar. And you're there.
You mentioned this, all the governments are involved. Obviously, privately getting donations, and obviously, you guys put on some drives and events to attract money, or is it just pretty much individually that make contributions?
Yeah, I think
and how can if someone who's watching the program wants to make a contribution?
Yeah, I think if you want to make a contribution, like Harbourfront Centre, .com, and they can go on and click and donate. Now, we haven't done a big fundraising campaign. It's never been something that has been a hallmark of ours. We have a lot of commercial operations on site, like marinas, restaurants, boating, the stage, and so. So from a fundraising perspective, we used to do a gala. We'll probably do one next year, but that's not where we raise a lot of our money. We do it a lot through commercial operations. So 62% of our funding is from commercial operations. 38% is government funding, which is actually a pretty good ratio for a charitable organization, arts organization. And individual giving has not always been a strength of ours. I think because, as you mentioned at the top of the show, hard to define Harbourfront Centre. Right, like we know what the Art Gallery of Ontario is. We know what the ROM is, and these are and people can put their name on it. Harbourfront Centre is a bit of an eclectic organization, and so we probably have to do a better job on that and attracting those big donors. Right now, our focus is, clean up the site, clean up our finances, which we've done, and now we're starting to attract corporate sponsors, right? And which is for me is my goal, right?
Someone was watching the program and wants to, maybe has never been down Harbourfront, and you had to make a suggestion. Can you visit Harbourfront within a day and kind of in a easy kind of way, move around and get a good flavor of the entire 10 acres, give or take?
Yeah, I think, if you came on a beautiful spring summer day, you could come down to Harbourfront Centre, start from the edges of Queens Quay Terminal, walk the shoreline, walk the waterfront, the docks. The main building has our arts and crafts studios. Glass being made, little trinkets. That's always exciting. Then you have the stage. There might be shows going on. We have our summer square where there's mist comes out in the summer, which is nice. Then as you go further, we have the Amsterdam Bridge that is being repaired right now. You can walk over. We have the dining experiences, so you can walk the whole site in a couple hours and really appreciate. I think what people, when they come down, they don't appreciate the size of the site and what it has to offer. Right? Sometimes they just think it's just one building. It's not. It's this 10-acre site, and I encourage people to just come down and walk it when the weather's nice. It's a beautiful experience.
Tenio, we appreciate coming on the program and giving us a flavor of Harbourfront, where you've taken it from and where it's today, and continued success. And hopefully over time you'll come back and give us some more updates in terms of the programs that you got coming down the pike. And if anybody wants to contribute, we'll let them know to visit the website. And there's a newsletter. I know that I've already
reached out.
I've already applied. Well, they can reach out to you, and get
give me my information. But okay. I appreciate the opportunity, Vince, and look forward to coming back, update you again. And it's a great opportunity for us.
Great, Tenio. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
Thanks.